Let's talk about the use, benefits, and considerations for soundfield systems in post secondary classrooms. It's a great solution for some situations. What is a soundfield system? Well, the purpose of a soundfield system is to amplify voices in large, noisy, reverberant spaces such as college and university auditoriums, theaters, and classrooms with poor acoustics, especially when the speaker has a soft voice, speaks at a distance, or is not facing the students. A sound field consists of two, sometimes three or more pieces of equipment. First, a transmitter is worn by the main speaker or presenter, so the professor. The transmitter can be worn with a lanyard or lapel microphone, both about 7 inches from the speaker's mouth, located on the chest. The second piece of equipment is a speaker unit, also referred to as a tower. This projects the professor's voice throughout the entire room. Most students with hearing loss in post secondary will have personal receivers instead of a tower to use with the transmitter. So the tower is often not required in these situations, but there's some great benefits to using the tower with a transmitter, which we'll discuss. The final pieces of optional equipment in the Soundfield system are handheld microphones, which can be passed around the classroom, enabling all voices, including other students, to be projected over the speakers, amplified. There are a few different manufacturers of Soundfield systems. Popular systems you will encounter in British Columbia include Front Row, Phonak, and Simian. Just for simplicity, I'll focus on Rogers Soundfield system. In the middle bottom picture, you'll see a tower standing on a desk. Next to the tower, you'll see the teacher in the green shirt wearing a transmitter on a lanyard around their neck. And at the bottom center of the picture, you'll notice a student facing the teacher, and to the right of the student is a handheld pass around microphone. So every time a student speaks in that class, they will speak in to the pass around microphone. In the past, these systems were programmed on channels, and the person programming the system would have to make sure the transmitter and receiver were on the same channel. Also, there were considerations to be made about having two listeners using two systems at the same location close by because these systems were very prone to interference and the people programming them had patching issues. Whereas now, Roger is an adaptive digital wireless transmission technology running on the 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth. Until now, personal FM systems were referred to as frequency modulated. Now, they're referred to as digitally modulated or remote microphones. These are all under an umbrella called hearing assistive technology. The Rogers system is dynamic. It constantly measures the noise level in a classroom and adjusts the speaker's voice to ensure that the speaker has precedence over the noise. Let's take a closer look at the pieces of the equipment of the Rogers Soundfield system. You will see the touch screen, or older Roger and Spyro, works with the Digimaster speaker tower. The touch screen works with the tower and the pass around microphone. It's important to note that the tower is not compatible with other personal Roger transmitters, such as the Roger Pen, the Roger Select, or the newest personal transmitter, the Roger On. The Roger Tower is called a Digimaster, and there are two different models of the Digimaster. The Digimaster 5000 can accommodate about 100 square meters or 1,076 square feet, which is equivalent to about 100 listeners in the room. There are 12 built in speakers in the 5000 device, whereas the Digimaster 7000 can accommodate 300 square meters or 3,032 square feet, which can accommodate 300 listeners. There are 15 built in speakers in the Digimaster 7000 model. If you have a large gymnasium or auditorium which exceeds 300 people, you could connect two Roger Digimaster 7000s. This is not the case with the 5000s, and you can also not pair a 5000 and a 7000 together. And on the bottom left-hand corner, you'll notice a picture of a pass-around microphone. You can use several pass-around microphones with this system. And just a quick look at other Roger equipment that can be used in the classroom in conjunction with the Roger Soundfield system include the Multimedia Hub. This piece of equipment can be used to project media through the Digimaster Tower from a professor's laptop or tablet. And at the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a picture of the new Roger neck loop. Anyone is able to wear a Phonak Roger neck loop with headphones or earbuds to hear from the Roger touchscreen directly. The individual does not have to have a hearing loss or wear hearing aids. This neck loop receiver is compatible with the other Roger transmitters, such as the Roger Pen, the Roger Select, and the Roger On. With the implementation of masks during the COVID-19 pandemic, it was clear that teachers wearing masks quickly learned that the masks attenuated their voice and their voice no longer carried throughout a classroom. Soundfield resolved that. Another benefit of Soundfield is that the sound of the Roger system and other Soundfield systems provide a clearer sound than older built-in systems. Another benefit is that the tower can be placed strategically in the classroom. So perhaps the tower is placed on the opposite side of the professor's lecturing podium. Or the tower can also be placed at the back of the room for those listeners who are seated in the kind of back quarter of the room. And the students who are experiencing difficulties or challenges can strategically place themselves with their better ear towards the speaker, sitting closer to it. Another benefit of the Soundfield system is that the microphone again is dynamic. So it's constantly assessing the environment and enhancing the speaker's voice to remain louder than the background noise. Another benefit has been demonstrated through the Mainstream Amplification Resource Room Study, or MARS study. This study demonstrated that classroom soundfield amplification system had several benefits for all students in a classroom, not just for those with hearing loss. And a final benefit could be that the soundfield systems remove a stigma. In a universally designed classroom, Any student could place themselves close to the speaker and not have to disclose or identify their hearing impairment. This slide summarizes Pam Millett's article in the Canadian Audiologist, Volume 9, Issue 3 in 2022. This article, The Non-Auditory Effects of Noise in the Classroom on Teachers, included a lot of great information about the use of sound field systems. $2.5 billion is the estimated annual cost of teachers' vocal strain in the US. 70% of teachers without the use of classroom amplification reported throat discomfort. This 70% was not previously using sound field amplification. Now, after the installation of sound field systems, only 27% of teachers reported throat discomfort. Also reported by teachers is a decrease in vocal problems during the pandemic, specifically for those whom have been teaching remotely. It's theorized that possibly the decrease is due to the lower levels of background noise. So there are several YouTube clips, or even on the Phonak or Phonak Pro website or Phonak Canada website, about how the sound field works, how to troubleshoot the sound field system, and samples of audio clips. The other manufacturers, such as Front Row and Simian, may also have similar clips on their websites. Let's look at some case studies. In this particular case, there is a new post-secondary course being offered for seniors 55 plus. It is known that this population is at an increased risk for hearing loss. How would you proactively accommodate for this course? Well, you could put a Digimaster in the classroom. You could put it on the opposite side of the professor of the room so that you can either sit in front of the professor to hear their voice directly, or you could situate yourself to the opposite side so you can sit closer to the speaker. You could mount this speaker on the wall and offer this classroom as a more accessible classroom at the institution and use it for all seniors classes or for students who or other populations that may benefit from the use of sound field. And you could schedule their classes in this generally accessible classroom. You could also not mount it on the wall and arrange for the IT professional to bring it in on the stand for various classrooms and then come and collect it at the end of the class. Another case study is a student with a moderate hearing loss who doesn't use hearing aids. He's struggling to hear a professor in the classroom but doesn't have any devices. How would you accommodate this student? So perhaps it's a financial reason that this student isn't wearing hearing aids. There's no funding for post-secondary students for hearing aids in British Columbia. So this could be the reason. Perhaps it's stigma related. Perhaps this student doesn't want to disclose they have a hearing loss, or perhaps they feel like if they wear hearing aids, they may be treated differently. Perhaps the student has chronically infected ears and has been instructed by their ear, nose, and throat specialist not to wear hearing aids because of the risk of reintroducing infection. Nevertheless, you could have for this student a sound field system. You could have the IT personnel bring in the sound field system for their classes and put the sound field system somewhere in the room, and the student could easily walk in and sit closer to the sound field system with their better ear on the speaker side, giving them a better chance at hearing through the speaker. This would allow the student to not have to disclose their hearing loss to their peers, whether directly or indirectly, as well as just remove any stigma associated with the hearing loss. This also guarantees a solution for classroom amplification. Perhaps you were hoping to apply for funding for temporary hearing loss and not quite sure if it would go through. And then you're not kind of waiting several weeks to accommodate this student while, perhaps their grades or performance is diminishing. It's a great solution. Another case study. A professor is looking for assistance after several students, including one with hearing loss, commented on her soft voice during lectures. She has acquired vocal strain due to decades of teaching. How would you accommodate this situation? This case is interesting because you're dealing with faculty, not a student. So this case could fall under the duty to accommodate the teacher. Or the institution could purchase a sound field system through the accessibility office, and this could be used for possibly students and teachers. If the sound field system was in the classroom, the professor could wear the transmitter either on a lanyard or on their lapel and have their voice projected over the speaker. In this case, you could use, depending on the size of the classroom, one 7,000, or if it's a larger classroom exceeding 100 students, two 7,000s. You could place one at the front of the classroom and one at the back of the classroom. Students who were experiencing um, great difficulty could seat closer to one of the speakers as well. And last, not so much a case study, but a great strong argument for sound field systems in post secondary classrooms, and that is universal design. There are so many benefits to using the sound field system, not just for the students, but also the teachers. As mentioned, when the teacher's wearing the transmitter, they don't have to try and raise their voice over the noise of the classroom. They possibly don't have to repeat instructions as much and cause strain to their vocal system. Also, there's been several studies to find that these sound field systems are beneficial to other populations other than hearing loss. Could be beneficial to those with autism, ADHD, where English is an alternate language, and for temporary hearing losses as well. Some considerations that should be taken when implementing the use of a sound field system in the post secondary classrooms include how you will transport the equipment. So, some of these towers can be quite large, and depending on the person carrying them, they could also be considered heavy. And because we are situated in British Columbia, it's also important to consider the weather. So, if you are transporting this system from one end of the campus to another, how will you protect it from rain? They do come in a carrying bag with a shoulder strap, which is, a medium sized bag. It's quite long, and easy to transport. The Roger Soundfield Digimaster device is actually quite light, and the stand, you would have to put it together at the beginning of each class and then take it down at the end of each class. As such, you could consider the storage of the equipment. You could leave it if it's always being used in the same building. You could leave it in that one main building in a locked closet or cabinet or janitor's room or IT room or accessibility office, and then bring it out prior to the class and set it up. If you're transporting it across the campus, possibly a sign out sheet would be a good way to determine where it's going to go at what time and who has it. Another consideration is, as we discussed, mounting it on one of the walls in the classroom. The placement of the mounting should also be strategic. Is it going to be right in front or behind the professor, or is it going to be on the opposite side of where their podium is in the classroom, or even at the back? And how large is the classroom? Again, if the classroom exceeds 100 students, you would then be looking at purchasing the Phonak Roger 7000 Digimaster instead of the 5000. And speaking of purchasing, again, depending on each institution, looking at if this will be purchased for a faculty member, looking at the duty to accommodate, or if it would be purchased privately by the institution for the use of students who could benefit from these and have no other access to funding. Another consideration and final consideration would be who will maintain this equipment? So, if the equipment isn't working and you need to troubleshoot it, will perhaps your IT department be responsible for it? And if they need to send it out for repair or determine if it needs to go out to repair, who will they then consult with? And of course, this will depend, this will vary from institution to institution. Okay, well, thank you for listening. Always happy to provide resources from ACE BC, and please don't hesitate to contact their office if you do have any questions.